Yes. You know what the day of the week is today? It is Monday. You know what Monday is, right? It's Murderous Monday. And I talk about serial killers. And I upload every Monday, hence the name. And the next serial killer that I will be talking about is Ed Edwards. Who was he? What was his early life like? And why and how did he become so evil? I will answer that and more as I take you down the perspective mind of a serial killer. Edward Wayne Edwards. I guess they didn't I guess they didn't have any other name for him. Born on June 14th, 1933 to April 7th, 2011, was an American serial killer and former fugitive. Edwards escaped from jail in Akron, Ohio in 1955 and fled across the country holding up gas stations. By 1961, he was on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. Edwards was captured and arrested in Atlanta, Georgia on January 20th. 1962. After his release from prison on parole in 67, Edwards murdered at least 5 people between 1977 and 1996. He is suspected of several additional killings. The background of Edward Edwards. Edwards was born in Akron, Ohio in 1933. In his autobiography, Edwards wrote that he grew up in an orphanage and that he was abused both physically and emotionally by the nuns there. Edwards was allowed out of juvie detention to join the U.S. Marines, but he eventually went AWOL and was dishonorably discharged. He traveled frequently during his 20s and 30s, working as a ship docker, vacuum cleaner retailer, and a handyman, among other assorted jobs. In 1955, Edwards escaped from jail in Akron and drifted around the country robbing gas stations. He wrote that he never disguised himself during these crimes because he wanted to be famous. After spending several years as a fugitive, he was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list in 61 following a 1960 escape from Portland, Oregon jail, where he had been held on suspicion of impersonating a federal officer. After his 1962 capture, he was imprisoned in USP Leavenworth, from which he was paroled in 67. Edwards claimed that the influence of a benevolent guard at Leavenworth reformed him. He married and became a motivational speaker. Of all things, a serial killer, really motivational speaker. Fun fact, somewhat, just like Rodney Alcala, who I've done a video on, also was a game show contestant. Edwards appeared on 2 television shows, To Tell the Truth, 1972, which he did not, and What's My Line? He wrote an autobiography, The Metamorphosis of a Criminal, the true life story of Ed Edwards, in 1972. By 1982, he had returned to crime and was imprisoned in Pennsylvania for 2 years for arson. Between 1974 to 2009, when not incarcerated, Edwards lived in more than a dozen different states, using many false names and aliases, according to his daughter. April. In 1993, letter to the FBI found in his papers, Edwards requested a criminal and history records for cities in 19 states, claimed that J. Edgar Hoover more or less gave me permission to proceed, that's what he said, with his 1972 autobiography. After I assured him that there was nothing in it bad about the FBI and he was writing a new book about criminals he met while incarcerated, such as Tony Provenzano, Charles Manson, and Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah, whatever happened to that guy? Known murder. Well, first of all, I actually heard of J. Edgar Hoover. Alright, now the known murders. Also, I want you guys to know that just when I'm not making this, anything joke about, it's just a mask. I'm not making this a joke. He really did do this. So sorry if you guys get offended. The known murders. The first murders for which Edwards was convicted took place in Ohio in 1977. William, a.k.a. Billy Lavaco, 21, of Doylestown, Ohio, and his girlfriend, Judith Straub, 18, of Sterling, Ohio, had been dating for 8 months when Straub's car was found in the parking lot of Silver Creek Metro Park in Norton on August 7th, 1977, with her purse and shoes inside. Family members gathered in the lot the next day as North police, aided by a National Guard helicopter, searched the high weeds. There they found Lavaco and Straub lying on the ground, shot at point-blank range with a 20 gauge shotgun. He received life sentences for these crimes in 2010. The second pair of murders, another double homicide, occurred in Concord, Wisconsin in 1980 when a 19-year-old couple from Jefferson, Wisconsin, Tim Hack and Kelly Drew, were stabbed and strangled. These are referred to as the sweetheart murders. So young. Sweetheart murders. Edwards had been questioned at the time, but there was no basis to hold him. Almost 29 years later, his connection to the crime was established by means of DNA testing, which is also how what's his face, Joseph James DeAngelo did the GSK killer, Golden State Killer. Edwards' own child, April Balascio, tipped off police about his possible involvement. Edwards confessed to the 1996 murder of his foster son. Wow, he actually killed his own son. I think I actually heard about this. Danny Boy Edwards. Danny Boy, the pipes are calling. Danny Boy Edwards in Burton, Ohio. The victim had lived with Edwards and his family for several years. Danny's original name was Danny Law Glockner. Edwards murdered Glockner in a scheme to collect $250,000 in insurance money. Danny Boy, a soldier in the U.S. Army, was persuaded by Edwards to go AWOL, also from the Army, and taken by him to the woods near his house in Burton, Ohio. There, Edwards shot him twice in the face, killing him, and left his body in a shallow grave, where it was later discovered by a hunter. Edwards was sentenced to death for his crime in March of 2011. He died in prison of natural causes just a month later. Arrest, conviction, death, and possible other murders. In 2009, Edwards was arrested for murder in Louisville, Kentucky. Neighbors described him as pleasant and neighborly, which he was not. In 2010, he pleaded guilty to the murders of Billy Lavaco and Judith Straub, who we said before, in Norton, Ohio, and Tim Hack and Kelly Drew in Concord, Wisconsin. Soon after, in a jailhouse interview, Edwards confessed to killing his foster son, Danny Boy, or Danny Law Glockner. He was 25 only. In 2011, he was sentenced to death for that killing. Now, death. Edwards died of natural causes at the Corrections Medical Center in Columbus, Ohio, on April 7, 2011, avoiding execution by lethal injection, set for August 31st. Now, last but not least, other possible murders. According to the Phil Stanford in his book, The Peyton Allen Files, Edwards may have been responsible for the murders of Beverly Allen and Larry Peyton in Portland, Oregon in 1960. 2 men were arrested and imprisoned for these murders, but released from prison early. Authorities maintained that the correct persons were prosecuted. In March 2017, Detective Chad Garcia of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, who was in charge of the Sweetheart murders case, described how the murders of Hack and Drew were solved following a tip from Edwards' own daughter, April. Garcia said he was pretty confident there are at least 5 to 7 more murders Edwards committed, and who knows beyond that. He gave a list of 15 confirmed and suspected victims, adding that he was less sure Edwards was involved in the Zodiac killings. Retired homicide detective John Cameron speculated that Edwards was responsible for 7 high-profile cases, including the Zodiac killings in the Bay Area of California, and the murder of John Bennett Ramsey. However, his claims have been proven highly controversial. Now, before we get off this video, I want to give you guys a hint of who I'm going to be doing next. Let's see. Oh, just a second. I did him. Alright. This person is also another doctor. No, this person was another nurse. Remember a couple weeks ago we did Harold Shipman, right? Alright, kitties? Well, this one is another nurse who, and I don't know much about his case, but I know that in court he was, by the judge, he was, for 22 minutes, the judge ordered him to sit down, and he would not. I'll give you his initials. His initials are CC. If you guys know who I'm talking about, you're true crime buff fans, please put it down in the comments below. And I will catch you guys in my next video, as I have to take off my mask because the hair is getting in the way of my mouth. Please like, comment, subscribe. Don't be a bad person.